local media have identified them as 6-year-old Kinsley White and her parents, William White and Ashley Hildebrand. Officials have also not officially said what prompted the shooting, but neighbors have told reporters that several young children were just playing basketball when their ball rolled into the yard of 24-year-old Robert Louis Singletary, with him then responding by running down the street, firing at a neighbor, and then approaching Kinsley, who was just playing outside in her yard, and shooting her in the face. Singletary then shooting her father, who ran over to protect her while another bullet grazed her mother. And family members saying they saw Singletary chasing William, who collapsed bleeding on the ground and is still in the hospital. Now, as far as Kinsley, luckily she's alive. She's also been released from the hospital after doctors removed bullet fragments from her cheek. And the kindergartner giving an emotional interview to local reporters.
Why did you shoot my daddy and me? Why did you shoot a kid's dad?
And as far as Singletary, he fled the scene after attacking all these innocent people, and as of recording, he's still at large, with a manhunt underway, and he's wanted on 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill or inflicting serious injury, and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a felon. And very notably here, before all this, Singletary was already awaiting trial on felony charges from an incident back in December where he allegedly beat his girlfriend in the head with a mini sledgehammer, with him then allegedly not letting her leave his apartment until she cleaned up the evidence. You know, a guy who should definitely still be out there in the streets with the public. And in a world and a country that seemingly does not want to change, I don't know what else to say other than this is America. And then, did this person cross a line, or is the ban bullshit? That's what you have people debating right now, with a journalist being suspended on Twitter after reporting on the hacking of Matt Walsh's account and speaking with the alleged hacker. So for some background, Matt Walsh is a far-right pund and overall weasel man who was hacked earlier this week, with tons of people noticing the hack after several off-brand tweets were posted to his account, with those including things like mocking his Daily Wire colleague Ben Shapiro, another calling Joe Rogan a pedo, another confirming that Andrew Tate kidnapped and raped those girls. And yesterday, we saw Wired reporter Del Cameron put out a piece titled "The Hacker Who Hijacked Matt Walsh's Twitter Was Just Bored." And they are talking to the alleged hacker identified by the alias Doomed, who said that he just did it to stir up some chaos, and adding that the intent was to make funny tweets, as Matt Walsh likes to trigger people. "We caused no financial harm, threatened anyone, nor ruined anything." And as far as how he hacked the account, he said that he used SIM swapping, which involves compromising a phone, and there specifically saying he had an insider help him. Also, on top of hacking Walsh's Twitter, the hacker claimed that he also got into his Google and Microsoft accounts, and there providing Cameron with copies of Walsh's W-2 form and email exchanges between Walsh and Steven Crowder as proof of those hacks. Though notably, Wired not publishing those documents, just referencing their existence as proof, and even keeping descriptions of them limited. Right from the W-2, Cameron only revealed who his employer was listed as, and it only summarized and quoted a few emails with Crowder saying that those messages were actually largely benign. But that article was seemingly enough for Twitter to take action, with Del Cameron posting to his Mastodon, "Just got permanently suspended for publishing this story," and later posting another screenshot where Twitter said that he was suspended for violating rules against distribution of hacked material. With that message continuing, "We don't permit the use of our services to directly distribute content obtained through hacking that contains private information, may put people in physical harm or danger, or contains trade secrets." But also, if you go to Twitter's policy page regarding hacked materials, it does seem to hold an exception for journalists in some capacity, saying there that because hacked material can be the basis for reporting, Twitter will defer to the editorial judgment of news outlets in its choices to publish it, and saying that in most cases, reporting on hacked materials constitutes indirect distribution, and in these cases, a violation of this policy would result in a label or warning message, not removal of the tweets from Twitter, which is also why you have Wired standing by its staffer, saying in a statement, "Neither Dell's story nor his Twitter feed contained hacked materials. We do not believe his account violated Twitter's policy," and saying, "We have not received any further explanation from Twitter, and our attempts to reach Twitter's press office were met with the customary poop emoji. We ask that the account be reinstated and that Twitter provide an explanation." Though, in response to that, some have said that it could do with the tweets where Cameron asked for Matt Walsh's DMs to be sent to his email, and arguing here he is seemingly trying to get the hacker to contact him, which would count as soliciting hacked material. Though again, many still believe that given the wiggle room Twitter has left journalists, he did not violate any policies, which is why you had tons of people defending Cameron and his work, saying that this is deeply troubling, that a fantastic journalist who is incredibly ethical and principled has been suspended for merely reporting on a hack, with people noting explicit protections in law and TOS for this. But also, a third part of this story is that Walsh has suggested he might actually go after Cameron and Wired. But for now, that's where we are. We'll have to wait to see what happens. And what are your thoughts here? Do you think a line was crossed or no? And then, BuzzFeed News is dead, with CEO Joe Napredi announcing the shutdown as part of wider layoffs for BuzzFeed in general. Which, I mean, regardless of your feelings towards BuzzFeed and BuzzFeed News, this is huge. I mean, you're talking about a news division that, yes, it struggled economically, but it won a Pulitzer Prize. Reportedly, the staff cuts are going to affect around 180 people. And Napredi saying in the memo, "I made the decision to overinvest in BuzzFeed News because I loved their work and mission so much. This made me slow to accept that the big platforms wouldn't provide the distribution or financial support required to support premium-free journalism purpose-built for social media." Now, as far as the writers, it appears that not everyone's being just kind of cast out, with it being reported that BuzzFeed and HuffPost will offer roles to some BuzzFeed News staffers. And as far as how the market, has reacted, the stock price plummeted, dropping 23% as of recording today, which is also notably around a 90% drop since its listing price back in 2021. But yeah, very big news in a place where the landscape is constantly changing. And then it's not over. More alleged victims are reportedly saying they were abused by Jonathan Majors. Right, you might remember last month, Majors was arrested in New York over an alleged assault, with a woman telling the NYPD that Majors struck her with an open hand and put his hands on her neck, though Majors has maintained his innocence and his lawyer even suggesting that he is the victim of the altercation. But now, according to a new report from Variety, more alleged victims are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Now, in response to this, Majors' lawyer gave a statement to the LA Times saying Variety's report is baseless, and adding Jonathan Majors is innocent and has not abused anyone. Mr. Majors is currently considering his legal options. But the Times also saying that Majors' legal team has submitted video evidence that, quote, appears to show the accuser uninjured and out on the town after parting ways with Majors on the night of the incident. But as far as what happens on the legal side here, we're going to have to watch. His next court appearance is scheduled for May. But as far as on the career side, that is chaos right now, with Majors now reportedly just being dropped by his talent manager, and you have people beginning to question his future in projects like the Marvel film. And then hydration, people. I can't stress enough how important staying hydrated is for everything to do with your body. And luckily, our friends over at Liquid IV can keep you hydrated, and that's why I want to thank them for being a sponsor of today's PDS. To put it plainly, Liquid IV works to hydrate you 2 times faster than water alone and has 3 times the electrolytes than traditional sports drinks. I'm drinking Liquid IV during my workouts on hikes, and I found it to be a great way to rehydrate after a long flight. You just tear, pour, shake, and drink. And of course, I gotta mention, it tastes great and is made with clean ingredients and packed with 5 essential vitamins: B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C. So if you're looking to keep hydrated, click the link down below or use my code DeFranco to get 20% off plus free shipping on your next Liquid IV order. And then Mike Lindell taking another L to the face, with an independent arbitration saying to the firm of MyPillow founder and prominent election denier Mike Lindell, you lost fair and square. And that in specific reference to a cyber expert beating his Prove Mike Wrong challenge. Because if you don't remember, after the 2020 election, Lindell spent millions and millions of dollars in spreading election denial. That including lawsuits, launching a television station, and just generally supporting other election deniers. And you might remember Lindell said that he had verifiable proof that China had interfered in the election, saying that he had data in the form of packet capture showing real-time influence from the Chinese that, quote, cannot be altered. They're 100% evidence. But he wouldn't and didn't reveal that data until August of 2021 when he held a 3-day cyber symposium. And Mike issuing the Prove Mike Wrong challenge, saying that if anyone could prove that the data he had was false or not from the 2020 election, he would pay them $5 million. And saying that his intention with the symposium was to attract media, cyber experts, and make politicians, quote, open their eyes. With it being Lindell's claim of packet captures that caught the attention of Robert Zeidman, a 63-year-old computer forensics expert. And a key thing to know is that Zeidman's a moderate conservative who has served as an expert for tech firms and IP lawsuits, and saying that he even voted for Trump in both elections. And he went into this sure that Lindell wouldn't offer this challenge if the data hadn't first been vetted. So he went to the conference, he entered the contest, and he received the rules, which according to the Washington Post say nothing of disproving Chinese influence, but instead proving that the data was not from the November 2020 election. And so when Zeidman reviewed the data, it was mostly PDF files, and the packet captures Lindell promised just weren't there, with Zeidman even testifying that some of the PDFs were just enormous files filled with seemingly random numbers and letters. So he laid it all out in a 15-page report saying, I have proven that the data Lindell provides unequivocally does not contain packet data of any kind and do not contain any information related to the November 2020 election. And Zeidman sends a letter to Lindell management a month and a half after the symposium asking for his $5 million, please and thank you. But they denied it. And so a month later, Zeidman files for arbitration in line with the contest rules. Rules that say that any dispute must be handled by, quote, final and binding arbitration, which is in turn subject to minimal review by the courts. Now, Lindell claimed during arbitration that he didn't provide his key data during the conference because, and I'm being serious here, someone poked him in the side while trying to take a selfie, which he says he took as a sign that the government was going to tamper with his information if he made it public. Once again, the data, he said, cannot be altered. But anyway, Lindell told the arbitration panel that his red team of advisors told him not to make the information public, and saying, they said it could be a poison pill put in the data and we really shouldn't release the China stuff. But the panel has now ruled in Zeidman's favor and directed Lindell management to pay within 30 days. And as far as why Zeidman has pushed it this far, he said that, yeah, he wanted the money, but he also wanted to push back against election denial, saying Mr. Lindell has a lot of followers. He's making a lot of statements to people that I know, people that are good friends of mine, people that are influential, and they are claiming that he has the data that shows that this election was stolen. And following the ruling, his lawyer said, I think the arbitrators thought it important that these claims be vetted because they've done great harm to our country. Also, as you might imagine, Lindell not a fan of this ruling, saying in a text message to the Post, they made a terribly wrong decision. This will be going to court. But reportedly, the decision itself cannot be appealed. But Lindell can ask a federal court to overrule it on the basis that it represented a manifest injustice. Zeidman's attorney says that's a long shot to say the least. But main point, another embarrassing day for the walking L that is Mike Lindell. And then the British government reportedly has their grubby little hands on disabled people's money, with the cash in this case specifically being the savings held for people disabled or not in accounts created under the former Labour government's Child Trust Fund scheme, where essentially it dished out up to £500 to children born between 2002 and 2011, depositing the money in a trust fund that parents could contribute more to, encouraging them to save so their kids could collect it all tax-free on their